I know exactly what I am expecting on this particular floor this afternoon.
Acrimonious.
Mr. Speaker,
Okay, proceed.
let me conclude that particular point that I was making by saying that all of us now recognize that we have one leadership in the country, and that in fact, as SG of ODM, I've said this before, and I want to put it here on record, none of us in ODM or in the opposition or minority party want this president or this government to fail. We are here to ensure that we provide the necessary supervision on this particular government so that they succeed. So, Mr. Speaker, first let me join hands or join the president in congratulating all the women, the extra women who are able to be elected as members of parliament in the individual constituencies. We know that it has been a difficult, process in this country to try and make sure that we achieve gender parity, especially in the National Assembly. I am very proud again, Mr. Speaker, as SG of ODM, that out of those 6 extra seats that we got or won in the, that women got in the National Assembly, 2 of them actually came from ODM. And I am happy that in this House, we have leaders of political parties. I have counted at least 3 SGs in this Senate, Mr. Speaker. And I am sure they will share in my disappointment, because one of the senators, when speaking to this point, I believe it was Senator Peris Tobiko, urged that political parties need to do more in order to encourage more women to participate in election and to actually end up elected. But I am sure the SGs in this House can share in my experience that, in fact, if we do not relook at the entire architecture of how people get elected to individual posts, then it is going to be very difficult for us to be able to achieve the gender parity that we are looking for. This first past the post system, Mr. Speaker, simply does not work if you wanted to achieve gender parity in the Houses of Parliament. So I am hoping that even as people continue to ask political parties to do more, we can have a relook at the entire architecture so that we don't just blame political parties for not doing enough to have women elected. Now, I was happy to hear the President ask and expect that he will expect bipartisan support for his agenda. That bipartisan support can only come when we see the sort of respect that I was speaking about, and the realization that now you are the leader of the entire country and not partisan positions being advocated out there. Mr. Speaker, I also heard the President speak about having more resources to the judiciary, and that this is what is going to allow or facilitate expeditious settlement of corruption cases. Mr. Speaker, it has been raised on this floor by my colleagues on the minority side that, in fact, we need to hear more about the plans of this government to be able to fight the scourge that is corruption. And increasing of resources to the judiciary alone, we don't believe is going to be the solution to the question of corruption, because you cannot argue that the only problem we are facing as a country when it comes to corruption is the question of slow resolution of those cases in the judiciary. And also, Mr. Speaker, to remind the country that even within the judiciary itself, the problem of corruption actually exists, so that if you prescribe a solution, it has to be a wholesome solution to ensure that we fight this monster once and for all. I was, of course, very disappointed, Mr. Speaker, because the President has chosen to abandon some of the protections that were in place to cushion members of the public, to cushion the ordinary mwananchi from the high cost of living. I was very disappointed that he has chosen to abandon the subsidies that were in place prior to the election when it comes to the price of fuel and the price of food. Mr. Speaker, as we speak right now, we have a lot of Kenyans who are still suffering. And we were promised by the President himself during his campaign that he would be ready on day one to be able to tackle the problems that are afflicting our people, and especially on the high cost of living. I would not have had a problem, Mr. Speaker, if the President maintained those subsidies for the time being, as he still tries to find his way around government and to find the solutions that he believes will work, so that we are able to cushion our people from the high cost of living. Mr. Speaker, he also announced a reduction in the price of fertilizer as a way of trying to reduce the cost of living. And this, we have been told here that now we are to expect the next crop. Kenyans are supposed to go hungry or suffer for the duration it takes to raise a fresh crop of maize, and that immediately that is here, we're using the new fertilizer, that now the prices of food will go down. That is what we've been told. So we have been asked to tighten our belts. And Senator Cherargei, you told me this in an informal setting, that once the new crop of maize is here, I don't know how long it will take, using the what is it called? The subsidized fertilizer, for us to be able to have a new crop. So we are all waiting, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sifuna, do you want to be informed by your colleague friend?
I want to warn him that I am also a farmer. So before he informs me, let him know that I am also a farmer. Inform me.
Have a seat. Have your seat. Take your seat. Take your seat.
Mr. Speaker, with all due respect to Senator Sifuna, the last time he used to refer us as to upcountry or rural senators. So I don't know whether there is farming in Nairobi. But on a point of information, I wanted to clarify an issue of maturity of crop. I appreciate where he comes from. They also plant maize. But we have a new breed, hybrid, that is produced by National Cereals Produce, but that can be ready within 3 months. So it's not necessarily that it means 9 months or 1 year. So
give him inform him the type of that hybrid. What is it? What is the name of that hybrid?
The name of that hybrid, Mr. Speaker, I think is H512A hybrid. It is 512 that can mature within 3 months, not the normal 9 months. So when we say you get a cheaper fertilizer, it can mature within that 3 months, and Kenyans can be able to harvest the crop. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Senator Sifuna, proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I doubt that I have any more information than I left with when I went to sit down, but I thank my brother for the effort. Mr. Speaker, we had a plan as well for reduction of the cost of living, and we actually believe, Mr. Speaker, that there is an alternative path to reducing the cost of living and especially the cost of food. We have had occasion to have conversations with farmers in the Rift, and they pointed out that, Mr. Speaker, the problem largely has been, number one, the over-reliance on rain-fed agriculture, which has become very unreliable given the scourge of climate change. And number two, that in fact, certain practices, mainly corruption within the food industry, has dissuaded many farmers from planting their crop. That in fact, sometimes they end up with a good harvest, but they are unable to put this harvest to the market because there are senior people within the Republic who then take up that position or that quota that was to be allocated to these farmers, Mr. Speaker. So I also believe that if indeed we wanted to ensure food security, we need to move away from rain-fed agriculture. We want to see a plan on irrigation, especially